With us now, co-host of Pod Save America and former senior advisor to President Obama, Dan Pfeiffer. Dan, I'm so glad you're here. I over the past several weeks, talking about the Pod Bros. And so I talked to Alex before the segment. I go, Dan's coming on? And he goes, yeah. And I go, but I was talking derisively about the Pod Bros. He goes, maybe he didn't know who you were talking about. So, no, just joking. I wanted to ask you, because you were there, and you saw what happened with the Obama campaign. And I was just saying this morning, 3 times in my life, I've seen a presidential campaign that was really not about politics as much as it was about a pop culture phenomenon. First was Ronald Reagan in 1980 near the end of the campaign. You could just feel it with everybody you talked to, wherever you went. Then the other times were, of course, 2008 and 2012 with President Obama. And we felt it over the past week. You know, I go out and eat with people that you know, aren't involved in politics. And they're talking about Kamala Harris in a way they just don't talk about politics. Well, oh, and I did leave out Donald Trump in 2016. Obviously, Donald Trump in 2016 was so. Do you feel the same way? Are you seeing the same thing? Are you hearing the same thing? And if so, how did this happen? How did we go from Kamala Harris, person that most Democrats are going, oh, geez, are we stuck with her? SNL parodied her replacing Joe Biden. How do we go from that to where we are right now?
Sure. First, Joe, one, I'm excited to be here. You know, we obviously had a big debate in the Democratic Party, and right, we're all unified. So I'm happy to be back on Morning Joe. Second, I'm hearing the exact same thing, right? People who I've not talked about politics with in 4 years have brought up Kamala Harris and Tim Walz to me in the last few weeks. They're interested, they're excited, they're watching things, they're consuming. And the way we got here, I think, is twofold. One, the debate happened. People paid real attention. The fact that Democrats and the president were considering taking this truly unprecedented step of him stepping aside at this point raised the stakes of this election, reminded everyone how important it was, how dangerous it would be that Donald Trump won. And then Kamala Harris killed it when she started. She is just like, this has been one of the most flawless 3 weeks of campaigning I've ever seen. There is excitement that I have not seen since Obama in 2008, that rally in Philly with Tim Walz, the selection of Tim Walz. People love Tim Walz, and it is just like broken through on the internet in a way that is just really awesome and is engaging people who really checked out of politics after Joe Biden beat Donald Trump in 2020. And they're back. And that's why this race went from one where Donald Trump was basically measuring the drapes in the White House at his convention to an absolute toss-up with, less than 90 days to go. It's really awesome to see.
After Tim Walz was selected, Republicans were lined up, and they had 2 lines of attacks. And you heard it not just from the Trump campaign, but from everybody. One was his military service. They were going to swift boat him like they did John Kerry in 2004. And the second had to do with the National Guard and him not calling it out and sitting back while Minneapolis burned. Both of those attacks have gone up in smoke. Let me first play for you a clip we played everybody yesterday. This is Donald Trump actually praising the Minnesota governor for his handling of the aftermath of the George Floyd killing.
I know Governor Walz is on the phone, and we spoke, and I fully agree with the way he handled it the last couple of days. So the best example, I alluded to it a couple of seconds ago, is Minneapolis. It was incredible what happened in the state of Minnesota. 3 days later, I spoke to the governor. The governor is, I think, on the call, and he's an excellent guy. And all of a sudden, and I said, you got to use the National Guard in big numbers. They didn't at first, then they did. And I'll tell you that, I don't know what it was. It was the 3rd night, 4th night. Those guys walked through that stuff like it was butter. They walked right through, and you haven't had any problems since.
All right, so that obviously totally undermines the best example. He talked about Minneapolis here. And then this morning, the Wall Street Journal editorial page, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but they called the attacks on Governor Walz's military service thin gruel. Mr. Walz rose to the highest rank of command sergeant major. He retired in May 2005, and then they quote a Fox News report where the Pentagon said Mr. Walz put his retirement request in several months earlier, and they conclude by saying he served his country. Less than 1% of Americans serve their country. Governor Walz served his country. Basically, the Wall Street Journal editorial page saying this line of attack is bogus as well. So where does the Trump campaign go next with this campaign that is, saw a Marquette poll yesterday that had them up 8 points. We know that's an outlier, but still, they've got momentum. So where do they go next with their attacks?
I mean, based on the absolutely incoherent, bizarre press conference yesterday, they don't know yet, right? Attacking Tim Walz's service record, that's absurd. That's not going to fly. And frankly, if you're focusing on the vice presidential nominee without any connection to the nominee itself, that's a waste of time. So keep doing that. This idea they're going to make Tim Walz a gun-owning, veteran state champion football coach from rural Minnesota to be some sort of radical liberal, that's absurd. I think I was interested to hear Garrett say that they just went out there to have a press conference for the sake of a press conference, because that's a sign of a campaign that's completely flailing. They don't really know how to attack Kamala Harris in a constructive way that works for them. This is probably why they now want to have debates after sort of running scared from a debate a week ago. I think they're probably going to go right to the old Republican, MAGA Republican tricks of it's going to be immigration, divisiveness, and stuff like that. But the Harris campaign's up with some really good ads, preemptively pushing back on those today. So we'll see where the Trump campaign goes. But as of right now, it seems pretty clear they have no idea where they should go.
So, Dan, let's talk debates. Donald Trump yesterday threw out the idea of doing 3 with the vice president. He kind of got the dates and networks mixed up while he did so. The vice president said, look, I'm in for September 10th. That's the one that had been agreed upon previously, when it was going to be Trump versus Biden. And she sort of said, we'll see if we do more than that. Let's make sure Trump shows up to that first one. What would you do here if you were advising the vice president on the matter of debates? How many should she do? And should one of them be on Fox?
I think her approach right now is the right one, which is Trump has been so all over the map with this. You really can't trust any sort of deal with Trump. So let's just get this one debate done, see if he follows the rules, and then go from there. Look, I think it's a great side-by-side for her. What sort of got lost in all the conversation around President Biden's debate performances, Donald Trump's was also terrible. He was miserable in that debate. He was miserable in that press conference. And if you can get what you think would be a fair debate on Fox News and beat him on Fox News, that'd be huge. But let's just do this one debate first. Let's see if he can act like a normal human being for 90 minutes and then go from there. But I think it's a good thing for her that they're debating. And it says a lot about where Trump now sees the race, that he is so desperate to debate her as many times as possible now.
Hey, Dan, it's been a giddy 3 weeks for the Democrats. As you look forward, what is it that worries you? What are the kinds of things that might keep you up at night? And if you were advising this campaign, how would you tell them to deal with those?
Sure. I mean, first, we should just be honest with ourselves that this is now a toss-up race, right? We have the momentum. There's a long way to go here, but we still live in a country where the Electoral College is a few points more Republican than the country itself. So if Kamala Harris is up 2 points in the national polls, she's either tied or down 1 in the battleground states. And so Trump still has a ton of advantages here. The economy is still a challenge for Democrats. Immigration is still a challenge for Democrats. Trump has advantages on those issues, not as big as he had against Biden, but still advantages. And the real thing here is Kamala Harris has high name ID, but all the polling and focus groups show that most voters, and particularly the persuadable voters, the ones who are really going to decide this election in the battleground states, don't know a lot about her. They don't know her story. They don't know what she stands for. They don't know what she will do as president. So filling in that gap, no one's ever had to fill in that gap on such a short time frame. And so that is the biggest challenge, because it's now a race to define Kamala Harris. Is she going to define herself before Trump and the Republicans and Fox News and the right wing tries to define her? Is able to define her first. So, I mean, that's the thing that I would worry about all the time, is just, are you winning that definitional race?
Dan, wouldn't you also say on the Republican side that Trump's team, the people around him, have to worry about him clearly diminishing in public? I mean, he's out there yesterday getting the wrong person between Governor Brown and Willie Brown, and a emergency landing that never happened, comparing his march with Martin Luther King's march, which brings January 6th back up again, which he shouldn't ever even want to bring up. I mean, wouldn't you be concerned if you were in the Trump camp about him in the debates and rolling him out around rallies again when you really don't know what he's going to say and he has no control of him?
There is this sort of myth of a more focused Trump earlier in the race, and he probably was better than he was in 16 to 20, but since over the last 3 weeks, it's been really bad. He has said crazy things. He's been largely incoherent. Like, that was the real thing, is when I saw that press conference yesterday, he was incoherent. He was angry. He was low energy. He misspoke on several occasions. He got confused. He was confused by policy. He was confused by his own personal story. And this is the exact contrast that the Harris-Walz campaign want, right? It's just younger, energetic, future-looking with a sort of sad, tired old man who people watching that should have real questions of whether that guy has what it takes to be president for the next 4 years. So Trump is not an asset to their campaign if he continues to act like he has over the last 3 weeks. And so, yes, if I worked in that Trump campaign, and I would never do such a thing, that would worry me a lot.
All right. Co-host of Pod Save America, former senior advisor to President Obama, Dan Pfeiffer. Thank you so much. Dan, you guys have any events coming up? Any Pod Save America events coming up?
We're going to be hitting the battleground states this fall in Arizona and elsewhere. And so we'll see lots of people out there. But thanks for having me, Joe. I really appreciate being back.
All right. It's great to see you. I hope you come back soon.